Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and welcome once again to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you tuning in today. We're going to be talking about an interesting one today. I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. We're going to talk about Ginger Snaps from 2020. I saw this movie years ago when it first came out. Um, hadn't seen it since until rewatching it today for the first time in years. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to talk about. I'm not even sure what my ranking is going to be just yet as I get this started. I need to talk about it a little bit to see. But let me put my glasses on so I can read my notes, and we will get started. Tagline for the film: They don't call it the curse for nothing. Brief synopsis: the story of two outcast sisters, Ginger and Bridget, in the mindless suburban town of Bailey Downs. On the night of Ginger's first period, she is savagely attacked by a wild creature. Ginger's wounds miraculously heal, but something is not quite right now. And now Bridget must save her sister and save herself. The film was premiered August 1st of 2000 at the Munich Fantasy Film Fest, and then in theaters May 11th of 2001. Directed by John Fawcett, screenplay by Karen Walton, story by Karen Walton and John Fawcett, runtime of 108 minutes, a budget of 4.5 million, only 572,000 at the box office. Not big numbers at all, but it sounds like it was a very limited release. Cast for the film: Emily Perkins, Catherine Isabel, Chris Lemme, Mimi Rogers, Jesse Moss. We'll stop there and let me talk briefly about cast, characters, story, cinematography, that kind of thing. First of all, I think everybody does a really good job in this movie. I think the cast all performs very well. I don't think anybody gave a bad performance, and I was really impressed with Catherine Isabel in this movie. I thought she was outstanding. Great job by the cast. And I think that, we'll get into a production note here in a minute that may have worked out best for this movie, really, when we talk about that cast, but we'll come back and get into that here in just a minute. As far as the characters, though, damn, I feel like I've been on repeat for a while because I've watched several movies lately where I have a hard time being interested in any of the characters, and I feel like that happens again with this film. Not that I dislike these characters, but I just don't feel like there's any that, and maybe, this is a right, like, this is a movie about teenage girls, and here I am, an old man, so maybe that's why I don't really relate to them. But I had a hard time getting fully invested in characters in this movie. I think the story is good. I think it's told well. I think the cinematography is good for the film. Uh, Score is again one of those that doesn't, it's fine. It doesn't jump out at me as being amazing, but it's not bad either. It does what it needs to do, and the story is interesting. That the performances are all solid. I just don't care about any of these characters, and I feel like that's really been something that's happening to me lately. I don't know if I need to change the way I watch some of these things or what, but I've really had a hard time being invested in some of these characters, and I felt it again in this movie. I felt sympathy for, I think, primarily Bridget and what she's having to go through with this, with her sister's, transformation. But at the same time, I just didn't find myself really liking any of the characters again in this film, and that hurts it for me. I need to, you know, being such a big slasher fan, I've talked about this before. How the victims of the slasher, if you really like the villain, which sounds odd, I know, but if you really like the villain, you don't have to care that much about the characters. But it is nice when there's some that you do like. And that happens a lot when you watch Jason or Michael or Freddy. You're there to watch them. And then if there's some characters you like along the way, that's a huge plus. In a movie like this, I really need some characters that I really like and I'm fully behind to fully enjoy the movie, regardless of how good everything else is. And I just don't feel like that's there for me in this movie. Again, probably because this is not a movie that's made for someone like me, but it's a horror classic. I know so many people love it, and so I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, that's probably my biggest issue with this film. And again, really, when you look at who it's made for and the audience that it's made for, the dynamic, it's not made for someone like me. So maybe it's not fair for me to review it, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Production notes: only have a couple of things real quick for the movie. Several casting directors had actually boycotted trying to put together a cast for this film due to high school students being the victims in the movie, and there had been multiple school shootings in the U.S. and in Canada, and so casting directors just didn't want much to do with it. Scarlett Johansson was originally offered the role of Bridget, but her mother did not want her to be involved. Um, Both, let me go back here and make sure I get names correct. Both Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabel, who did get the cast, and I believe it was Catherine Isabel, said that she felt like the casting directors boycotting this film was a bonus for her because it allowed more unknown actors to get an opportunity. And both Perkins and Isabel had been born in the same hospital. They attended the same school, and both had appeared on episodes of The X Files. So, kind of a cool connection there between those two. That's really all I've got as far as production notes. So, let's go ahead and get into the movie and start to walk through this plot a little bit. Let me get a drink of coffee first because my mouth is very dry. I apologize. I've been a little under the weather the last few days, but I'm hanging in there. All right. So we open up this movie with a mother who's raking in her yard. We see her child playing over in her sandbox, and then the child ends up finding a dog paw. And then we see as the mother comes over and picks up the child and sees the paw, we see the rest of the dog. And then from there we meet Bridget and Ginger Fitzgerald, sisters who both seem to be very fascinated with death. They make a pact to either move out of the suburbs or die together by the time they're both 16, which I believe Bridget's already 16 or about to turn 16, and Bridget's also 15. So something that they're wanting in the next year. And then we see them doing a lot of death photo shoots. Sometimes looks like suicide, sometimes looks like accidents, but just a lot of death. And you see their fascination with death. And we discover that they put this into their school project. So let me stop there as we talk about this opening. This movie, I think, does a very good job of making you feel uncomfortable. I think that, I'm one of those people that hates it when a dog dies in a movie. And so right off the bat, when we jump in here with this, the remains of this dog, it's uncomfortable. It's rough. I hate that. And then when you see how fascinated these two sisters are with death and the photo shoot that they do, yeah, it gives you a very uncomfortable feeling right off the bat, which I think is what it's supposed to do. But it kind of lets you know what you're in for and what's coming. And then, as I said, we cut to school and we find out that there's a school project called Life at Bailey Downs, and that's what this photo shoot they put together was for. And obviously, their teacher is not happy about it. But we then find out that I believe, another dog gets out that multiple dogs have been being killed. There's belief that there's some, I think at one point they call it, well, I thought I wrote it down, but like the Bailey Downs beast or something to that effect, but has been killing these dogs. And we see that Bridget and Ginger are planning on, there's a school bully named Tina. They are planning on kidnapping Tina's dog and making it look like the beast gets a hold of it as well. We then cut to dinner with their family. Their dad's very awkward. Their mom also awkward, but in a different way. And Ginger is talking about not feeling well. And the mom begins to talk to her about that a lot of this sounds like she's about to experience her first period. We then do get another shot of another dog. I believe Ginger and Bridget go out to start their little mission, and they find another dog that's dead. And Ginger starts bleeding from her first period. She calls it the curse. And then out of nowhere, Ginger seems to get attacked by, this werewolf. I think this attack scene is really good. I think it looks good. The special effects in this movie are actually outstanding. I really like the effects in this film that they did. A lot of these dog scenes that we see that I mentioned are gross. The attack scene, I think, is really good. I think it's intense. Probably the most intense scene of the movie, honestly, in my opinion here. I think it's done really well. It's shot really well. It's scary. Everything looks good. There's a moment there where Bridget's running around looking for her, and we think Ginger's going to get her away, and we see her dragged away again. Bridget finally comes upon the wolf attacking her and is able to save Ginger, and as they run away with the wolf chasing him, the wolf gets hit by a van that is driven by Sam, a classmate of theirs. Once the girls get home, Bridget, of course, is freaking out. She wants to try to get Ginger to the hospital, but Ginger's wounds begin to heal by themselves, and we see that Bridget got a picture of the werewolf. So that's kind of where we are. Again, I really like the attack scene. I think the attack scene is really good. I like the special effects for this film. I think we've gotten tension. So far in this movie, we've gotten tension. We've gotten an uncomfortable feeling. We've gotten some scares. I feel like the movie's off to a really good start. I like the way it's going here. And then from there, Ginger starts to begin to experience her changes. She begins to grow some hair. Her menstruation is incredibly heavy. Bridget is also studying werewolves and talks to this Sam guy who's also like a drug dealer for the school, but talks to him quite a bit about things and wants to see his van and see what kind of damage was done. Ginger's behavior is also beginning to change. She's becoming much more aggressive, but she's also becoming much more popular. Um, we see her hook up with another kid in the school named Jason, and we kind of get a little bit of a brief mislead because as they're about to have sex, it almost looks like Ginger attacks him, and we think maybe she kills him. Um, but instead, we find out as she gets back home and has blood all over her that she had sex with Jason, but she ended up killing a dog afterwards. That she just felt this need, and she's trying to explain that to her sister that she thought the overwhelming need that she was feeling was for sex, but instead it was to devour this dog, and so that's what she did. Back at the school, there's a moment where Tina, or maybe her name's Trina, maybe I wrote that down wrong, but is kind of bullying Bridget a little bit, and we see Ginger attack her and beat her up. We then cut to Jason, and we find out that now he's starting to have some symptoms after being intimate with Ginger. He's peeing blood. He's starting to struggle a little bit. In a conversation with Sam, Bridget makes it sound like it's her that's starting to experience some of these changes. Um, Sam suggests like a silver piercing. They do try that, but it doesn't seem to work. He also talks about wolfsbane and this mixture that he can come up with that might help. But again, he thinks it's Bridget that's going through these things and not Ginger. As we're going through this part of the movie, I had completely forgot about Jason's character and him starting to experience some of these changes as well. Um, I do think here, and what we're doing here is storytelling, right? I mean, we're talking about Ginger and the changes that she's starting to have. I mean, she even starts to grow a tail. Um, I feel like this part of the movie begins to drag a little bit for me, and I think here is because we've we've had some really good scary scenes, we've had some intense scenes, we've had a lot happening, but now as we're just trying to tell the story and talk about the transformation and what everybody is going through because of this, primarily Ginger and Bridget. Here is where I feel like the lack of interest in the characters themselves was hurting me a little bit, because when they were doing scares and when we were doing all, some of the big stuff, I was fully invested. But when we're just telling the story and setting things up and talking, I was struggling a little bit. And I think again, it's because of my lack of interest in these characters. And again, I don't want that to make it sound like I don't feel like these performers did great, because I think the cast was doing a fantastic job. Um, Trina ends up coming over to their house. She's upset because her dog has gone missing, and she feels like that they took it. She says she saw Ginger take her dog, which actually we know that Ginger killed the dog. But then in an accident that happens in the kitchen, she ends up slipping and falling and hitting her head and dying. The girls hide the body in the freezer. There's a moment there where the parents come in, and we think the mom's going to find it, and they're able to distract the mom, and then they end up burying the body, although they break a couple of the fingers off in the process. We continue to go through catching Jason from time to time as he's continuing to go through changes. He kind of attacks Bridget once, but the janitor of the school puts a stop to it. And then later he attacks her again. And because Sam has now made this formula that involves wolfsbane, and Bridget has that, when Jason attacks her, she's able to give him a shot, which seems to immediately work. So we know this formula works because Jason seems to start changing back, and everything is okay. So we know this wolfsbane formula thing is the route they need to go. Bridget goes to find Ginger. She finds her at the school. She's actually in the process of killing the counselor, and then a few minutes later, Ginger kills the janitor. Some good scenes there. Again, I feel like the scenes look good. The special effects are good. I don't think these scenes are as intense as what we got when she was attacked by the werewolf, but I still think it's these are done pretty well. Ginger informs Bridget that she plans on going after Sam next. Back at the house, their mom finds Trina's body buried, and because there's a scene later with actually I think the dad, or just a few minutes earlier, where the dad had found the fingers, and now the mom finds the whole body, and so the mom goes to get Bridget and Ginger. We also see where the mom is going to try to help cover these things up. The mom tells Bridget, in fact, that in the morning that she'll burn the house down to hide all the evidence. Kind of a weird little subplot there, and it never really comes back up or goes anywhere, but just interesting. I don't know where that came from, but just an interesting little twist in there as well. We do see Ginger then attack Sam, but Bridget is able to get to him and save him. Um, and then Bridget, to try to show Ginger that she's still with her and still, committed to their bond, she ends up cutting both of their hands and like clasping them together to where she's also now infected with this curse. But then Sam ends up knocking Ginger out with a shovel. They load her in Sam's van and they plan on taking her back home and using this cure that he's come up with to try to help. Um, don't completely understand why this was the route Bridget decided to go to infect her as well. I mean, again, I get that she's trying to show Ginger that she's still with her, but I don't know. I just thought this was an odd part to throw into the film as well. But again, it's fine. I do feel like by the time we get now coming up into this final act, I really felt like the film was starting to drag. I was starting to be ready for the movie to be over. And again, I feel bad saying that because there's a lot of good things about this movie, and it just really came down to my lack of caring about these characters, which is, that's on me, I guess, at this point. But I just was not fully invested in these characters at all. In the van, Ginger fully transforms into this werewolf, and she's able to escape. Sam is able to make more of this cure to try to help her, but when he's trying to, they're there in the house, and I believe like Sam and Bridget are in this. Like this pantry area, and as Sam goes out to try to give Ginger a shot, she ends up attacking him. Um, Bridget comes upon them. She looks around a little bit. She's able to come upon them, and she sees Sam there. He's, very wounded. He's hurt. Bridget's there, or excuse me, Ginger's there now in her werewolf form, and so Sam decides to try to uh, drink some, or excuse me, Bridget decides to try to drink some of Sam's blood to keep Ginger from just finishing him off, which initially seems to work because then Ginger kind of leaves Sam alone and is just drinking some of the blood that's on the floor as well. But it ends up making Sam sick. She can't commit to it. Ginger realizes this, and so then she goes ahead and fully kills Sam. Um, Again, this is again a fairly uncomfortable scene. I think they do a good job here. It's a scene that's shot really well. It's gross. But from there, then we get Ginger chasing Bridget through the house a little bit. Bridget is able to get one of these needles that has the cure in it. She also ends up picking up a knife. Chasing's not bad. I mean, it's okay. It's not that long, but it's not bad. And then finally, here at the finale, Ginger ends up lunging at Bridget to attack her. But in doing so, she ends up getting stabbed with this knife that Bridget has. And so as Ginger now laying there dying, um, Ginger's laying there dying. Bridget's crying because she knows she's now losing her sister, and she just goes over and lays her head on Ginger's chest, and that's where the film ends. And that's Ginger Snap from 2000. Again, I hate to criticize this movie because I don't feel like there's really anything bad about this film. As I've already mentioned, the performances are solid. The cinematography is good. The special effects are really good. There is some tension. There is some scares. There's some good things about this movie. Um, the thing that I didn't like about this film was, as I've said a few times now, I just didn't care about any of these characters. But I really feel like that's probably because this is not a movie that's made for someone like me. I like werewolf movies, but again, this is a movie about teenage girls and what they go through in life, and then the werewolf thing brought into that as well. I can see this movie being incredibly popular with teenagers. I can see this movie being incredibly popular with women. But for a man in his 50s, this is not. I'm not the demographic that they're shooting for in this movie, and I can see that. So I really hate, like I said, to say anything bad about the film because I don't think this is a bad movie at all. Just my lack of interest in these characters keeps it from being a very good movie for me as well. So on my scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it just a little better than average. I'll say 6 out of 10 for Ginger Snaps from 2000. Not a bad movie, just not for me. But I want to know what you think about Ginger Snaps. Have you seen this movie? I know it has a huge following. Are you one of them? Do you absolutely love this movie? Is it middle of the road for you? Do you not like it? I want to know your thoughts on Ginger Snaps. If you subscribe if you haven't yet. Got some fun stuff coming up. Next week, I have episodes coming out on Men, another movie that's probably not my demographic, The Grudge, and the first Insidious film. That's all coming in the next week. So subscribe so you don't miss anything. Again, fun stuff coming. Hit the like button today. Leave me some comments. Hit the hype button. Follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X. Yeah, I'm out there on all of it. Just search Sean's Horror Corner and you'll be able to find it. Thank you again so much for watching. I do appreciate you tuning in, and I'll be back in just a couple of days to talk about Men. I'll see you soon.